Rising. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy holy day. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Hope your week has been going lovely. It is your girl, Empress ShayMarie, back for another video. So today I wanted to come on, you guys, and I'm going to be continuing the book that I left off with from my last video. Commercial Law Applied, Learn to Play the Game by David Robinson. So now this reading, I'm going to actually be rereading. Just found out about you 2 minutes ago. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So I actually read or did part 2 of this book from chapters 11 a few weeks ago, and right after the live, somehow it got deleted. So what I'm going to be doing is going ahead and picking up from the last video that you guys probably have been able to check out, which was the first 10 chapters that we read. So today we're going to go ahead and reread the next 10 chapters, possibly. Basically, I'm going to be reading for an hour today. So with that being said, I hope you guys can hear me. Let me know if the music in the background is too loud or whatever. But I'm going to be picking up on chapter 11 and reading for about an hour with you all. So I appreciate you. Make sure you guys share this information, share this video, like this video, subscribe if you are new to the channel. Been putting out a lot of great information. Definitely you want to go check out my last video that I posted. Everything sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Thank you. Please be sure to like. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to actually send out some notifications that I'm live on my other social media. Okay, so just sent the notification of Facebook. I only want to work with individuals that are, willing to put in the work. I don't know if you guys heard me, so let me go back. I was sharing the live on another page. So I was saying that I have opened my community back up to the public. I did say I was going to take on the first 100 people, and then I'm going to close it for a while and deal with them as far as getting them on the road. I may open it back up to more people. It just all depends on what the universe is leading me to do. But right now the group still has about 20 spots left for you to be able to join the group, because I have a total of 80 people in there so far. So I do have 20 more spots left for people to join my community. We had an amazing class last night, an amazing class that actually went longer than expected, and it is recorded. And if you join my group, you will have access to the recording after you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Everyone who joins my community has to sign that agreement, because it's a lot of confidential, private information that I provide. And I just want to keep it confidential, and I don't want anything to come back on me. So that's why I'm having people to sign those disclosures, so that I could protect myself, pretty much. And you're protected at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to be picking up from chapter 11. I read chapters 11 the last time I was live, but apparently it got deleted somehow. I think YouTube was on some BS, if you ask me. However, I'm going to go ahead and repeat these chapters for everyone. And now I can't see the chat again. This is so irritating. So I don't know who's watching, but if I have anyone here that's a part of my community, please just moderate for me. I can't appoint anyone as a moderator at this point because I can't see who's in my chat. Probably because I went to sharing the live. So unfortunately, I can't see who's watching or see who's in the comments. So I'll check the comments after the video. In case, someone is trying to speak to me and I can't see what you're saying. Just know that I'll reply after. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, we're reading Commercial Law Applied, Learn to Play the Game by David Robinson. Okay. Chapter 11. The United States is bankrupt, which we all should know by now. America's been bankrupt since March 9th, 1933, thanks to the Federal Reserve's HJR 192, which is short for House Joint Resolution. Why is today's dollar worth 2 cents compared to a 1913? Why did Federal Reserve, or FDR, steal Americans' gold the following year? Why do Americans each allegedly owe $330,000 to the Federal Reserve today? Why are more and more Americans declaring bankruptcy? Why is America becoming increasingly tyrannical? Why is the left-right dialect faked? Why are foreclosures plaguing the country today? Why is privacy becoming non-existent? Why is America, as well as the rest of the world, a collective socialist dictatorship? The answers to these questions and more lie in James Traficant's speech to the House on March 17, 1993, nearly 60 years later. This one speech is all you need to understand the deep doo-doo the world is now in. The problem that the feds have taken over the country on behalf of the Federal Reserve. Thomas Jefferson warned about the dangers of following or allowing, private banks like the Fed to issue the nation's money to issue the nation's money supply, yet it is what is happening today. You can't pay for anything with debt. That is the scam in place now. With fractional reserve lending, the monetizing of debt and charging of interest, and the debt will never be paid off. Chapter 12, James Traficant's U.S. Bankruptcy Speech. The Bankruptcy of the United States Congressional Record, March 17, 1993, Volume 33, page H 1303. Speaker Rep. James Traficant, Jr., Ohio, addressing the House. Mr. Speaker, we are now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in the world. Please shut the door, please. Thank you. In world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it's a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by Emergency Banking Act, March 9th, 1933, 48 Stat 1, Public Law 89, 7119, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. HJR 192, 73rd Congress, in session, June 5th, 1933, joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of the United States governmental officers and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in the name only. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. It always works in threes. All United States offices, officials, departments, and now operating within are now operating within a de facto status in the name only under emergency war powers. So we are actually under martial law, if you know it or not, you guys. We've been in martial law since 1933. So all of these false flags about, us going into martial law, guess what? We're already in martial law and been there. You were born into martial law, pretty much, if you're living today. The receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy, being an established socialist communist order under a new government under a new governor for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of the Treasury and or placing the office of to that of the Governor of the International Monetary Fund. Public Law 94-564, page 8, section HR 13955 reads, in part, the United States Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States. Gold and silver were such a powerful money during the founding of the United States of America. Notice it's in lower caps. Okay. To the founding fathers declared that the founding fathers declared that only gold and silver coins can be money in America, since gold and silver coinage were heavy and inconvenient for a lot of transactions. They were stored in banks, and a claim check was issued as a money substitute. People traded their coupons as money or currency. Currency is not money, but a money substitute. Redeemable currency must promise to pay a dollar equivalent in gold or silver money. Federal Reserve FRN notes, or Federal Reserve notes, make no such promises and are not money. A Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the federal United States government, not money. The federal United States government and the U.S. Congress were not and have not or never been authorized by the Constitution for the United States. Notice the punctuation, how it's spelled. It's all lowercase, right? To issue currency of any kind, but the only lawful money, gold and silver coin. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. We, the people, no longer have any money. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life. So whether you think you're getting paid money, you're not. The money the green paper dollars that you have in your bank account, in your wallet, hiding under the bed, in a shoebox, that's not real money. So you're just storing debt. You're holding on to debt. Okay? Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps in their whole entire life. Now, do you comprehend why you feel broke? Now, do you understand why you are bankrupt along with the rest of the country? Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, are unsigned checks written on a closed account. You guys see that? Federal Reserve notes are unsigned checks written on a closed account. FRNs are inflatable paper. FRNs are an inflatable paper system designed to create debt through inflation, devaluation of currency. Whenever there is an increase of the supply of money substitute in the economy without a corresponding increase in gold and silver backing, inflation occurs. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresponsible governments inflict on their citizens. The Federal Reserve Bank, who controls the supply and movement of Federal Reserve notes, has everybody fooled. So this is why you guys see the prices of food going up, because of inflation, because of the deflation and inflation, because it's happening simultaneously at the same time. It's being deflated and inflated at the same time. So this is why, like, the cost of food and everything is going up. Like prices on stuff is like double what it was last year. And this is why you see like bags of chips that used to be, you know, I think they're the dollar bag of chips now are $2, and then there's less chips in there. That's inflation. They have access to an unlimited supply of Federal Reserve notes, paying only for the printing cost of what they need. FRNs are nothing more than promissory notes for the U.S. Treasury securities T-bills, a promise to pay the debt to the Federal Reserve Bank. Thank you all for the likes. Make sure you guys share this out with your friends, your family, everybody that needs to wake up and know this information, because we got to get it through the ears, like seriously. There is a fundamental difference between paying and discharging a debt. To pay a debt, you must pay with value or substance, i.e., gold, silver, barter, or a commodity. With FRNs, you can only discharge a debt. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. You cannot service a debt with a currency that has no backing in value or substance. No contract in common law is no contract in common law is valid unless it involves an exchange of good and valuable consideration. Unpayable debt transfers power and control to the sovereign power structure that has no interest in money, law, equity, or justice because they have they have so much wealth already. Their lust is for power and control. Since the inception of central banking, they have controlled the fates of nations. The Federal Reserve System is based on the canon law and the principles of sovereignty protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. In fact, the international bankers used a canon law trust in their model, adding stock and naming it a joint stock trust. The U.S. Congress had passed a law making it illegal for any legal person to duplicate a joint stock trust in 1873. The Federal Reserve Act was legislated post facto to 1870, although post facto laws are strictly forbidden by the Constitution. The Federal Reserve System is a sovereign power structure, separate and distinct from the federal United States government. The Federal Reserve is a maritime lender and/or maritime insurance underwriter to the federal law. The lender or underwriter bears the risk, and the maritime law compelling specific performance and paying the interest or premiums are the same. Assets of the debtor can also be hypothecated to pledge something as a security without taking possession of it, as security by the lender or underwriter. The Federal Reserve Act stipulated that the interest on the debt was to be paid in gold. There was no stipulation in the Federal Reserve Act for ever paying the principal. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages until the Federal Reserve Act in 1913 hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors.
Hey, Bank of America paper?
1 second. The who?
That ain't no Bank of America paperwork on his truck.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Hypothecated all the property within the federal United States and to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees, who are stockholders, held legal title. The U.S. citizen, which are tenants or franchisee, was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate in 1933. The federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects, the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, to the Federal Reserve System. In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation all the credit money substitute if needed. Like any other debtor, the federal United States government had to assign collateral and security to their creditors as a condition of the loan. Since the federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their economic slaves, the U.S. citizens, as collateral against the unpayable federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national parks, forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against the federal debt. All has already been transferred as payment to the international bankers. Isn't that something? Unwittingly, America has returned to its pre-American Revolution feudal roots, whereby all land is held by a sovereign and the common people had no rights to hold allodial title to property. Once again, we the people are the tenants and sharecroppers, renting our own property from a sovereign in the guise of the Federal Reserve Bank. We the people have exchanged one master for another. This has been going on forever, 80 years without the informed knowledge of the American people, without voice protecting loud enough. Without a voice protesting loud enough. Now it's easy to grasp why America is fundamentally bankrupt. Why don't more people own their properties outright? Why are 90% of Americans mortgaged to the hilt and have title or no assets after all debts and liabilities have been paid? Why does it feel like you are working harder and harder and getting less and less? That's literally how it feels, guys. We are reaping what has been sown, and the results of our harvest is a painful bankruptcy and a foreclosure on American property, precious liberties, and a way of life. Few of our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have dared to tell the truth. The federal United States is bankrupt. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. So I want to just stop there, because when it says our children will inherit the unpayable debt, when they say that we are born into sin, in the Bible, this is basically what they're talking about. Sin is debt. Okay? So all of this crap they're telling you about what sin is, it being you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. The only sin is debt, you guys. Okay? America has become completely bankrupt in world leadership, financial credit, and its reputation for courage, vision, and human rights. This is an undeclared economic war, bankruptcy, and economic slavery of the most corrupt order. Wake up, America. Take back your country. Emphasis added. Wake up. Y'all see that? Wake up. HJR 192. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. So the United States, you guys, is just a name. The federal government is only a name. It's a business. And that's basically what your name that's on your straw man. That's your straw man is a business. It's not you, it's a business, okay? I need you guys to understand this. The power of acceptance. The term accept for value is difficult to comprehend and understand when first encountered. With this in mind, when you get a traffic ticket and notice of a tax due or whatever, one's first instinct is, oh no, I'm not going to accept that. Why would anyone want to accept such a thing? Accept means To receive with approval with intent to retain, according to the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Acceptance means the taking and receiving of anything in good part and as it were a tacit agreement to a preceding part, which might have been defeated or avoided if such acceptance had not been made. Nope, not much better, huh? First, we have to know what the word tacit means. Tacit means something existing, inferred, or understood without being openly stated or expressed, something implied by silence, silent acquiescence as a tacit agreement, something silently understood, according to Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Tacit also means something done or made in silence, something implied or indicated, but not actually expressed, something manifested without objection or contradiction, something inferred from the situation and circumstances in absence of expressed matter. Okay? If you accept the thing, then there is an agreement, a contract. You agree with what is said in writing or otherwise, whatever it may be. If you don't accept it, if you don't say anything and remain silent and you don't object, then there is still agreement, basically a tacit agreement or a contract. Okay? If you don't refute or contradict what they say in writing or otherwise, there is an agreement or a tacit agreement or a contract. You certainly don't want to get into court battle with anyone, no matter how right you think you are, what law you think is on your side. You always lose in any court. So why would you want to accept anything for value? Well, let's define a few more words and see if we can make any sense of all of this. Conditional acceptance. So if you've been watching, I've talked a lot about conditional acceptance. An agreement to pay the draft or the bill or accept the offer of the draft or the bill on the happening of a condition. A conditional acceptance is a statement that the offeree, which is you, is willing to enter into a bargain or a contract differing in some respects from the one proposed in the original offer. So if they make you an offer, then you have to accept it, and then you can put your conditions in there. And once you put your own conditions in there of acceptance of the agreement, because they made you an offer first, right? So once an offer has been made to you, you have the right to accept it. You can accept it in writing, or if you don't respond in writing, then it still becomes a binding contract because you by default didn't respond with the condition, with your own conditions. Okay, now the ball is back in their court. Well, let me finish reading this. A conditional acceptance is therefore a counter offer made in return. Okay, now the ball is back in their court. If they do not answer, they accept your offer by tacit agreement and you win. Power of acceptance. The capacity of the offeree, that's you, upon the acceptance of the terms of an offer to credit or to create a binding contract. So if you accept their offer with a conditional acceptance and put forth your terms upon which you do accept their offer, you then now have a binding contract on your terms. The offerer, who is the municipality or corporation, must now come back with a rebuttal to prove their terms or conditions in error if they can. If they cannot prove you wrong, or if they remain silent, the conditioned contract stands and you win. You need to accept the offers of contract that you receive by claiming your control over the fictional entity or straw man that the state created in your name when you were born. In other words, I am not the fictitious corporation, the straw man, addressed and stated on your claim. Maxim 6. An unrebutted affidavit becomes judgment in commerce. I think, we went over the maxims of laws in the last previous videos, okay? Chapter 14, the law of presumption. A presumption is a legal interference or assumption that a fact exists based on the known or proven existence. One moment. Okay. Okay. Based on the known or proven existence of some other fact or group of facts. Black's 7th edition, Black's Law 7th edition, page 1203. Most presumptions are rules of evidence calling for a certain result in a given case unless the party adversely affected overcomes it with other evidence. A presumption shifts the burden of proof or persuasion to the opposing party, who can then attempt to overcome the presumption. The IRS makes presumptions about your status which are not true. A resident of any of the 50 states of the Union who has ignorantly filed one or more IRS 1040 forms in the past is presumed by the IRS to be an individual who is subject to the individual income tax. Filed IRS 1040 forms allow the IRS to presume that this individual was required to file or voluntarily chose to be treated as a taxpayer who is required to file. The IRS is entitled to presume that this non-resident of the federal zone, the District of Columbia, and its territorial possessions has volunteered or is volunteering to become a taxpayer, an individual subject to the internal revenue tax, the tax internal to the federal zone. The term presumption has a special meaning in law. A presumption is a logical supposition of a particular fact. The Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC, defines presumption this way at UCC Article 1, General Provisions, Part 2, Section 1201, General Definitions. 31. Presumption or presumed means that the trier of fact must find the fact presumed until evidence is introduced to prove it untrue. UCC 1-201-31. Black's Law 6th edition defines presumption as follows. A presumption is a rule of law by which a presumed fact exists as true until it is rebutted, a legal inference that operates in the absence of proof. There are two opposite kinds of presumptions, conclusive and rebuttal. A conclusive presumption is one or for which available proof renders it so conclusive that it cannot be rebutted. To rebut a fact is to expose it as false, to disprove it. A rebuttal presumption is one that can be disproved by sufficient proof. A rebuttal presumption is a lawyer's way of stating a fact that is really not a fact. We are mainly interested in rebuttal presumptions because the Code of Federal Regulations makes presumptions about non-resident aliens of the federal zone. 26 CFR 1.8871-4, proof of residence of aliens of the federal zone. A. Rules of evidence. The following rules of evidence shall govern in determining whether or not an alien within the United States incorporation has required residence therein for purchase of the income tax. Non-residence presumed. Okay, so non-residence presumed is an alien by reason of his alienage is presumed to be a non-resident alien if it's added. Treasury regulations here are very clear about a key presumption that the IRS makes about aliens of the federal zone. Because of their alienage, all aliens are presumed to be non-resident aliens. Okay? This presumption is built into law because the Code of Federal Regulations is considered to have the force of law. Courts have ruled that the CFR is a supplement to the published Federal Register, which puts the general public on actual notice. So I'm going to take a break and just grab a sip of water. So thank you. Okay. The presumption is a rebuttal presumption. The regulations establish the rules by which the presumption can be rebutted or disproved as follows. C. To other aliens. In the case of other, not departing aliens, the presumption as to the alien's non-residence may be overcome by proof that the alien has filed a declaration of his intention to become a citizen of the United States Incorporation under the naturalization laws, or that the alien has filed Form 1078 or its equivalent of acts and statements of the alien showing a definite intention to acquire residence in the United States, or showing that his stay in the United States Incorporation has been of such an extended nature as to constitute him a resident. 26 CFR 1.871.4. Filing a declaration of intent to become a U.S. citizen will rebut the presumption. Acts or statements by aliens showing a definite intent to acquire residence will also rebut the presumption. Form 1078 is a certificate of alien claiming residence in the United States. The IRS printed product catalog document 7130 describes this form as follows. Form 1078 certificate of alien claiming residence in the United States. Who may file? A resident alien may file the original and one copy of this certificate with the withholding agent to claim the benefit of U.S. incorporation residence for income tax purposes. This is a trick bag, y'all. Notice the explicit reference to the benefit of the United States. We don't want none of their benefits, do we? No, we don't. Residence for income tax purposes. What are the benefits of U.S. residence for income tax purposes? The benefits of being under the protection of Congress and thereby subject to its exclusive jurisdiction. The actual scope of Social Security, for example, is limited to the federal zone, except for those outside the zone who wish to voluntarily partake in its benefits. Under the law of presumption, your use of a Social Security number can be treated by the federal government as proof that you have opted to receive benefits from the federal zone. Form 1078 is ready-made for those who begin as non-resident aliens, but later choose to declare themselves as resident in the United States. This is not what we want to do in order to claim the benefit of that residence. Straight trick bag. Form 1078 declares a non-resident alien to be a resident for income tax purposes. Form 1078 moves non-resident aliens into the jurisdiction of the federal zone. So what is the federal zone? Somebody put in the comments what the federal zone is, if you know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it, but I'll see it later. Because apparently I can't see the chat anymore because I tried to share the video out. Isn't that something? Okay, so it says there are other ways by which the presumed non-residence of aliens can be rebutted or disproved by the IRS, thereby moving them over into the federal zone. For example, if non-resident alien signs a W-4, another trick bag. So I'm showing y'all the trick bags. For example, if a non-resident alien signs a Form W-4, they are presumed to be government employees having income from a source inside the federal zone. Employers are to treat all employees as residents of the federal zone and withhold pay as if the employers have not been instructed otherwise by the employees. Y'all hear this? Notice how the presumption has shifted. Contrary to the regulations at 26 CFR 1.871-4 quoted previously, employers are told by the IRS to make the opposite presumption about the residence of their employees, even if they are not true employees of the federal zone, as that term is defined in the IRC. So you guys can literally like screenshot this and take this and show it to your employer and tell them like they're agents for the federal government, and by them forcing you to fill out a W-4 form, it hinders both them and you, okay, because they are the ones actually paying the taxes. If individuals have signed W-4 and W-2 forms, the presumption is that they were required to sign these forms or they made the election to be treated as residents. We're going to get to the solution and how to fix this issue shortly, okay? Recall that the instructions for Form 1040-NR describe the election of the tax as a resident alien. This is accomplished by filing an income tax return on 1040 or a 1040A and attaching a statement confirming the election. So we've been doing it all wrong, you guys. So everybody that's out here, I gotta file my taxes. Like, you getting back what you paid that was taken out of your check that shouldn't have been taken out of your check. Not only that, you're only getting back a portion, only a small portion of really what belongs to you. Apologize about that. I had a call coming in. So it says a very subtle indicator of one's status is the perjury oath found on the IRS forms. Under Title 28 of the U.S. Incorporated Codes, Section 1746, there are two different perjury oaths to which penalties attach. One within the United States, notice how it's spelled, one within the United States Incorporated, and one without the United States. Okay? So you could be within the United States or without. If an oath is executed without the United States, it reads, I declare or certify, verify, or state under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct. If an oath is executed within the United States, it reads, I declare or certify, verify, or state under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. So you have to pay attention closely to what you're signing and agreeing to, guys. Thus, your signature under the latter oath can be presumed to mean that you are already subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. This latter oath is the one found on IRS Form 1040. Okay? When you unknowingly rebut your status of being a non-resident of the district. Hold on, guys. My partner in crime, the one who helps me and researches with me, is calling me. So obviously it's important because she's tried to call me twice. So she doesn't know I'm live. Let me just message her back and let her know I'm live, and I'll get back with her because we got about 15 more minutes on this call. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, let's see. Where were we at? When you unknowingly rebut your status of being a non-resident of the district United States by having filed one or more 1040 forms in the past, the filed 1040 forms do not cast the situation into concrete. This presumption is rebuttable, so it can be fixed, you guys. The IRS formulates the presumption from these filed forms that you are an employee of the District United States who is subject to the individual income tax and is required to file. If you filed under the mistaken belief that you were required to file, that mistaken belief in and of itself does not turn you into a person who is required to file. Tax liability is not a matter of belief, it's a matter of jurisdiction, okay? So, all those some I don't believe, well, they ain't got to believe. It's not a matter of your belief, it's a matter of what jurisdiction are you in, period. So, all that believing and not knowing is what gets people trapped up. Tax liability is a matter of your status and the jurisdiction in which you live, according to what you claim to be. Your best approach is to clean the slate. In other words, clear the administrative records of any written documents which you may have filed in error or in mistaken belief that you were required to file. So what you need to do is an affidavit of rescission, which can be used to clean the slate of constructive fraud that Congress and other federal officials have perpetrated on the American people. Screenshot this page, y'all. I think y'all should be able to see it good enough. Let me see. Let me get y'all some better light. This is a good page to screenshot. So I hope you got it. So moving on, it says, now this law of presumption works both ways. You use it to your advantage as can anyone else. One of the most surprising discoveries made by the freedom movement in America concerns the bank signature card. Pay attention to this. If you have a checking or savings account at a bank, you may remember being required to sign your name on several documents when you opened that account. One of these documents was the bank signature card. You may have been told that the bank needed your signature to compare it with your signatures you would make on the checks you write to detect forgeries. That explanation sounded reasonable, so you signed your name on the blank signature card. What the bank officer probably did not tell you, because they probably don't know, because they're flying monkeys and were told lies like we all were. What they did not tell you was that you signed your name on a contract whereby you agreed to abide by all the rules and regulations of the Secretary of the Treasury of Puerto Rico. Y'all getting this? Bank signature cards typically contain such a clause in the fine print. Let me go back to in the fine print, right? These rules and the regulations include, but are not limited to, the Internal Revenue Code, IRC, all 2,000 pages of it, and the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, for the IRC. These rules may also include every last word of the Federal Reserve Act, another gigantic statute. Now, did the bank have all 8,000 pages of the IRC and its regulations on exhibit for you to examine upon request before you signed the card? Hell to the motherfucking no. We would have been there all day. Your bank should be willing to identify clearly what rules and regulations silently adhere to your signature. You are presumed to be a person who knows how to read a contract before you sign your name to it. And once your wet ink signature is on the contract, The federal government presumes that you knew what you were agreeing to when you signed this contract. Their presumption is that you entered into this contract knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally because your signature is on the contract. Is this presumption rebuttable? You bet it is. Here's why. Instead of telling you that the bank needed your signature to catch forgeries, imagine that the bank officer described the bank signature card as follows. Your signature on this card would create a contract between you and the Treasury of Puerto Rico. The secretary is not the U.S. Treasury of the Treasury of the United States, because the U.S. Treasury Department referred to on the bank signature card is a private corporation which has been set up to enforce private rules and regulations. This some deep shit, ain't it, y'all? Make sure y'all sharing this out. I see 1111. I like that number. Love that number, 1111. So I got 11 people watching, 11 likes. That's how it should always be. These rules and regulations have been established to discharge the bankruptcy of the federal government. Your signature on this card would be taken to mean that you are volunteering to subject yourself as to a foreign jurisdiction, to a municipal corporation known as the District of Columbia, and its private offspring, the Federal Reserve System. You would be accepting the benefits of limited liability offered to you by the private corporation for using their commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes to discharge your debts without the need for silver or gold. By accepting these benefits, you would be admitting to the waiver of all rights guaranteed to you by the Constitution of the United States of America, because the Constitution cannot impair any obligation in the contract that you would be entering by signing this card. Your waiver of these rights would be presumed to be voluntary, and as a result of knowingly intelligent acts done with sufficient awareness of the relevant circumstances and likely consequences, as explained by the Supreme Court of the case of Brady versus U.S. With your signature on this card, the Internal Revenue Service, a collection agency for the Federal Reserve Bank, which the Federal Reserve Bank, this book is very old, you guys. So the Federal Reserve Bank is no longer in existence and has actually been turned over to the Treasury per your prior president of the corporation, President Trump, who's actually still the president of the corporation of the United States. And Biden is actually the president of what is known now as the White House Office Corporation or Incorporation or whatever. So, if you guys didn't know that, now you know. Okay? It said will be authorized to attach levies against any and all of your accounts balances in order to satisfy any unmade liabilities which the IRS determines to exist. Okay? You would be waiving all rights against self-incrimination, and you would not be entitled to due process of law in federal administration tribunals where the U.S. Constitution cannot be involved or invoked to protect you. Okay? And where your home, papers, and effects would not be secured against search and seizure. Now, please sign this card here for us. That's what they were supposed to tell you. And I don't think none of us would have signed that card the way we sign it. We've been signing it. I think that now that we know that we can reserve all our rights, we would sign as all rights reserved without recourse, without prejudice, right? Which I'm really mad now because I just had a altercation with the banker like last week trying to tell me how to sign my name. Like, nigga, you can't tell me how to sign my name. What the fuck? But yeah, that's another story. The law of presumption saves. How does the law of presumption help you in the situation with your bank card? First of all, you presume that your signature was required to compare it with the signatures on checks you plan to write. This was a reasonable presumption because that's what the bank officer told you, but it is also a rebuttable presumption because of what the fine print said. The fine print can be used to rebut your presumption when push comes to shove in a court of law. The federal government presumes that you knew what you were doing when you signed that contract. Well, did you? Did the bank offer or explain all the terms and conditions attached thereto as explained above? No, the fuck it did not. Did you read all 8,000 pages of law and regulations before deciding to sign this contract? No, I did not. Did you even know they existed? No, I most certainly didn't. Was the signature on this contract a voluntary, intentional, and knowingly intelligent act done with sufficient awareness of all its relevant consequences and likely circumstances? Now, if y'all don't screenshot this and use this for your benefit, then I don't know what to tell you. Because this book is telling you right there what to do, how to protect yourself moving forward, okay? Let me see. The Supreme Court has stated clearly that waivers of constitutional rights not only must be voluntarily or voluntary, but must be knowingly intelligent acts done with sufficient awareness of the relevant circumstances and likely consequences. Y'all better screenshot that law or screenshot what the Supreme Court. This is a case law right here. Fortunately for you and me, the federal government's presumptions about you and me are also rebuttable. Why? Because the feds are guilty of fraud by not disclosing the nature of the bankruptcy which they are using to envelope the American people like an octopus with a suction. Tell me about it. With a suction tentacle in everybody's wallet, adults and children alike. The banks are unwitting parties to this fraud because the Congress has a controlling interest in the banks through the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and their traffic in Federal Reserve notes and other commercial paper issued by the Federal Reserve banks. With the help of their agent, the Private Treasury Department of Puerto Rico. Since this fraud can attach to your bank accounts without your knowledge or consent, it is generally a good idea to notify your banks in writing that the IRS cannot inspect any of your bank accounts records unless you specifically authorize such inspection by executing an IRS Form 6014 to the IRS. 6014. The IRS printed products catalog describes this form as follows. Form 6014, authorization. Access to third-party records for Internal Revenue Service employees. Authorization from taxpayers to third party for IRS employees to examine records. I hope y'all screenshotting this. Make explicit reference to this form in a routine letter to your banks. Inform the appropriate bank officer that they must have a completed Form 6014 on file with your authorized wet ink signature before they can legally allow any IRS employees to examine your bank account records. Y'all, this is empowering information. And if you're not sharing and liking and sending this and screenshotting this information, or screen recording for your future notice and your future use, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay? It says, then state discreetly that you hereby reserve your fundamental right to withhold your authorized signature from Form 6014 because it would constitute a waiver of your Fourth Amendment rights to privacy, and no agency of government can compel you to waive any of your fundamental rights, such as those explicitly guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution for the United States of America. Banks are chartered by the United States in which they do business, and as such, they are agencies of state governments. You might also cite pertinent sections in your state constitution, particularly if it mandates that the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, as it does in the California Constitution. Okay? Finally, you may wish to state that Form 6014 does not apply to you anyway because you are not a taxpayer, as that term is defined by Section 7701A 14 of the Internal Revenue Code. Therefore, the bank is not authorized to release information about you to the IRS employees. Period. Y'all see that? Period. Social Security is another example of a fraudulent contract with a built-in presumption. Your signature on the original application for Social Security, the SSS 5 form, is presumed by federal government to mean that you knew what you were getting into. Namely, that you knew it is voluntary, that you knew it, I'm sorry, namely, that you knew it is voluntary, that you knew it is a true insurance program. It's an insurance program. That you knew it is instead a tax. I'm sorry. That you knew it isn't a true insurance program, that you knew it is instead a tax, that you knew Congress reserved to itself the authority to change its rules at any time, and that you knew it makes you subject of Congress because you knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily chose to accept the benefits of this government program. No, we did not. I know I didn't. If you didn't know this, if you are someone like me who was not knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily choosing to accept the benefits of this corrupt government program, I need you to drop a 1 in the chat for me, please. Now ask yourself these questions. How could you have known any of these things since nobody told you? How could you have known since the real truth is systematically kept from you? How could you have known if all applicable terms and conditions were not disclosed to you before you joined the program? And how could you have made a capable adult decision in this matter when you signed the form as a minor, or when your parents signed the form for you, right? The answers to these questions are all the same. There is just no way. For the record, Black's Law Dictionary 6th edition defines fraud as follows: an intentional perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another or individual in reliance upon it to part with some valuable things belonging to him, or to surrender a legal right. A false presentation of a matter of fact, whether by words or by conduct, or by false or misleading allegations, or by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives and is intended to deceive another, so that he shall act upon it to his legal injury. The law with respect to fraud is crystal clear. Constructive fraud as well as actual fraud may be the basis of cancellation of an instrument. Okay? Reserve these anonymous presumptions which the federal government is entitled to make about the so-called contract you signed at your friendly local bank, or the contract you signed to apply for Social Security. Okay? So that is it for today, you guys. We're going to pick up sometime next week. You guys be patient with me. The reason why I hadn't been back to read is because I've definitely been out here in the field, you guys. Just making stuff happen. Like you heard me say last week, I was at the bank. I was at the bank this week. Just trying to get stuff done. Trying to be a foot soldier out here for us so that I can get all the processes down packed and be able to share with everyone what you need to do to get your affairs in order. Time is definitely of the essence. Time is winding down. Things are definitely Changes are definitely being made in the system, the current system that we're discussing. Um, and you just got to get yourself prepared because I don't know if I don't know if you've heard me talk about Nasara Jasara, but Nasara Jasara has already been in effect. It's already been announced. If you know about it, then it's been announced, right? So I don't know why everybody sitting around waiting for Nasara Jasara to be announced. Why are people sitting around waiting for money to just be dropped into their bank accounts and shit like that when you ain't even got your shit together? You still operating as a straw man, right? So you got to get stuff in order. Nasara just not going to happen for you. You actually have to make it happen for you, okay? And I can validate that. You can go listen to an interview by David Straight that he did a couple of weeks ago. David Straight is a person that's very, very tied in with these entities and has been actually teaching the truth of what's happening and showing people how to correct it. So he has already came out and said Nasara Jasara is already in effect, is already active. The people, what needs to happen is that more people need to become aware of it and wake the hell up. So that is our duty. If you holding on to this information and you're not sharing it, you're not telling people about Nasara Jasara, you're not telling people about the truth about who they are and stuff like that, then I consider you an agent of the enemy. And you need to be telling people so that we can wake our people up and get what belongs to us. Because the only reason why shit is being held up is because too many of y'all is out there still asleep and still participating in your own demise. It's people still going to work. These people, these corporations can't be in existence without you. And so the only way to bring them down is to walk away from them. You don't need them. They need you. I've been saying this a long time on my Facebook page, on YouTube. I've been saying this for years, for at least 3 years or more, that we are the bankers. These people need us to even be in existence. They need us to exist, not the other way around. So we have to know who we are. We have to know that we are the creditors. We are the reason why they can create money out of thin air, because they're creating it on the backs of our labor, on the backs of everything that we do. So with that being said, it's time for us to stand up and take control, period. Okay, you guys? I mean, I need y'all to get this through y'all heads. Literally, if you're watching and you're not a part of Freedom Riders community where we're learning together, we're growing together, like I said in the beginning of this video, I got 20 more spots left. I opened it up about a month ago. I reopened my community back up to the public to help the first 100 people that joined the community. It's about 20 spots left. You need to get in there. I don't have the link in this video, but when I get off of this video, I will change and edit my description area to put all type of information in there that you can contract or contact me at, get in contact with me, or if you'd like to make a donation and all of those things. But they are on my previous videos in the description area, so you can go look there as well. Just go to the video and click in the description area, and there's links to my Telegram chat, there's my email address, there's a way for you to make a donation if you like what you're hearing and you like to contribute to the research and development of what I'm doing to bring awareness, to make you guys aware of what's happening and how to correct the wrongs of your status in the government. Then your donations are very appreciated. It definitely helps. It's definitely needed. I don't work. I do this 100% full time. I don't work for anyone. So a lot of the times, because of the lack of Federal Reserve notes, I have to take a longer time getting things done because I don't have Federal Reserve notes. I don't work for Federal Reserve notes, but that's what it takes to get certain things done until I get where I need to go. So donations, when I get them, they do come in very, very handy. Okay. You guys want to get with me as soon as possible. Get into the Freedom Rider group. Join our community. Like I said, I can't see who's in the chat. I can't see any of the comments because my chat has disappeared. So, you can email me if you have any questions or join the Telegram chat. Don't be scared. Like, we on Telegram. Telegram is where a lot of the action is happening. That's where a lot of this free information is being given, and people are doing the research and working together to get free. So it's not just me. There's tons of other groups on Telegram and stuff like that. If you can find them, that you can become a part of. But you can just become a part of Freedom Riders, and you don't have to go chasing rabbit holes like I've done over the last 3 years to get this information and get where I am. Okay. So, I'm a very humble person. I love to help people. I will help anyone who wants to help themselves, but it has to be some type of reciprocal exchange at the same time. Like I said, I don't charge for this information. I don't monetize my channel with YouTube because they can kiss my ass. That way I can be able to say whatever I want to say on my channel and put what I want to put on there. So I don't get monetized, even though I'm able to be monetized. I choose not to be because I don't need all of those restrictions from YouTube. So, if you can send a little $1 donation or $5, $10, whatever you can donate, it's definitely appreciated and it's definitely needed. I'm not on here acting like I got access to my unlimited credit yet, because I don't. But I'm almost there. I trust and believe that. I'm definitely almost there. And when I get there, I'm going to help other people get there. Like, I'm just trying to put in the footwork so that other people don't have to go through all of these rabbit holes that we've been going down for years. I told y'all that my name was changed to an L back in 2005. But I was so young and so dumbed down back then. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no idea. So, I've just found that out by pulling a background check on myself. That was the only way I found out that what we had did back then, because we were working with a group of people. Come to find out they were more. I had no idea what we were doing. I was young. I was going by my mother's instructions, and the people that were kind of guiding her through the process, we never fully finished anything. We never got access to our money or anything, and we kind of just walked away from it all because we didn't know what we were doing, pretty much. All that we knew is we were being told that our birth certificates were attached to millions of dollars. That's all we knew, and we was trying to go after those $1 million, and we never got it. But now that I know what I know, it's more than millions of dollars. It's unlimited credit. Like, everything is based off me. Everything is already paid for. Everything is already paid for, because the government is supposed to discharge all debts dollar for dollar. But we out here paying for it with Federal Reserve notes, thinking that we paying our debts, and we not. We out here working 40 hours, 8 hours, or 80 hours a week for Federal Reserve notes, the reserve notes that are debt. It's debt. It has no substance behind it. So even if you think you own your home, you don't own it. You're paying a mortgage. You don't own it. It's not yours. It's not yours. Why? It's yours technically, but on paper, it belongs to the bank. Because, number one, we've been signing things wrong. We haven't been operating in commerce the correct way. And why? Because we haven't been taught to do so. So this is why I'm coming here and making people aware of the wrongs and how to correct them, providing the problem and solution at the same damn time, so that we can all get free. Okay? So y'all check out, come join Freedom Riders. We were going to be putting out some t-shirts. We got a whole, I mean, I have a whole movement planned for Freedom Riders. It's more than just about learning. We're going to be building communities all around the nation, building our own communities and, healing centers. It's all type of things that we're putting together. We're going to have t-shirts and things like that. And the proceeds from the sales of the t-shirts are going to go towards giving back to the community, giving back to different communities, feeding people, feeding the homeless, providing food and shelter. These are the things that we're supposed to be doing in the world. Okay? So, just get with me, y'all. Connect with me. Connect with our community. I'm not the only one out here that's doing this. Like I said, there's other communities, but, there's a lot of happy people that showed up to my class for the very first time last night that were excited, and I'm excited for what's in store. And so with that being said, you guys, I don't want to hold you any longer. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading today, appreciated the reading. Like I said, if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so. Just email me and I'll direct you on how to make that donation. Or join the Telegram chat, y'all. There's no charge to get in the Telegram chat. The only thing that I charge for is personal consultations. And my personal consultations with someone is $50 for the first hour and $15 for every 30 minutes after. So if you want to book an hour consultation with me, then it's $50. If you want to book it for an hour and a half, then it's going to be $65. If you want to book it for 2 hours, do the math, okay? So that being said, it's your girl ShayMarie. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you all for your participation, your interaction. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you. I tell you, since I came back online and started back reading to you all, my channel has grown tremendously. I think over the last 2 months, I've gained an additional 18, maybe 1,500 subscribers. So I truly appreciate you all. I'm not in it for the numbers. I'm just really trying to bring awareness to the people. The numbers and the subscribers and all that means nothing to me. The likes and all that. I only ask for the likes because it boosts my video in the algorithm so this information can get out to the people. That's all that I really care about. With that being said, it is your girl ShayMarie. I will see y'all on my next video. Holla back.